not be very prolific, not be nuclear whatsoever, but just enough to drag down and distract the United Nations to make NATO an inefficient and obsolete organization. So it will not be able to tackle advances by Russia both in the Ukraine area and Black Sea area and in Eastern Europe, rolling back the NATO steel curtain which has been deployed through missile silos, etc. So it's something which could be looked at as a strategy from Vladimir Putin's point of view. And only time will tell. This year will be an exceptionally geopolitically changing year for the world at large. Absolutely, totally different. In ways, Donald Trump might be actually a stabilizing effect between Russia and the United States, but certainly a destabilizing effect between China and the United States. But only time, again, will tell how that's going to develop. Well, we come to our third and final section of exploring the world of Donald Trump and how he's affecting the world. And now we're coming on to our American First policy, which in essence is Donald Trump's domestic policy, but it affects the international stage massively. You can't talk about the United States without also talking about its effect on the world. So, like the previous sections, we're going to start off with a little American First Trump song. So enjoy this, and we'll be back in a moment.
Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. To lead by an any big fat love, find common ground to hold the spread of lies, and we must do it big fat love, find common ground to hold the spread of lies, and any America first, America first, non-fatal. We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first. To lead by an any insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. To lead by an any big fat love, find common ground to hold the spread of lies, and we must do it big fat love, find common ground to hold the spread of lies, and any America first, America first, non-fatal. We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first. To lead by an any insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow.
Welcome back to the show, folks. You were just listening to a Trump song, and you're tuned into the Aardvark Agenda, our podcast on Cavan Online Community Radio, and we're talking about Trump's world and its effect on the world. We're in our third section. We're talking about Trump's America First policy. It has many, many, many different manifestations. Of course, the first one that comes to mind is America First for jobs, America First for economics, and of course then comes the building that wall. How's he going to build the wall? By taxing Mexico's exports into America by 20%. That's a novel way to do it, but, you know, going back to that organization that we were talking about, Stratfor, it, again, is a consultation organization on strategic forecasting for the United States. And one of the worrying things that they predicted was the only form of warfare that the United States is vulnerable to is a land-based war. When it comes to tackling long-range war, intercontinental missile war, etc., 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 the United States is second to none. They are able to take out, with their missile shield technology, satellites, etc., etc., anything that comes their way. But in a land war, you can't use nukes, you can't use missiles, you can't use weapons on your own people, particularly when the invading force is in your own country. So trying to have a stable relationship with your southern neighbour who have a massive population, a massive amount of weapons, and Mexico is not a country to be trifled with. I mean, we often hear about their poverty crises, we often hear about their crime rates, but it is not a very poor country. It is not a powerless country. Mexico will not tolerate the kind of abuse that Trump has been throwing at them for very long. And you might not know, but internally in Mexico, the current president is one of the weakest presidents they've had. So imagine what Mexico will be like if they have a much stronger and much more determined president to stand his ground on this issue. So it's an interesting one. Going over to the America First policy, I suppose what we should do is we should go to a little clip from Trump's inauguration, and here's what he had to say on America First and only America First.
We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. Protection will lead to great prosperity and strength. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
Well, America First. What exactly does that mean? That means protectionism, folks. Maybe not isolationism, but it means protectionism. And protectionism essentially means that all contracts will go through American firms first, that exporting of American industry to cheaper locations such as Ireland will be coming back. And again, we've had umpteen different discussions, forecasts, etc., from Irish economists as to what that means. We don't know. They don't know. Economists, can you really trust an economist to tell you what's going to happen after all that they've gotten wrong in the last 10 years? When it comes down to predicting this situation, you'll know when it's done. You'll know when he's starting to write the executive order to bring back the companies or to enforce an extra tax on US companies that are based abroad and selling back home at an increased rate, etc., etc., etc. So it really is hard to tell. There's no use in making predictions that don't have some facts to back it up here. It would just be whispering in the wind. Coming on to the other American First policy, we're also talking about the essential ban on travel for particular countries. This is a racist manifestation of Trump's policy. There's no need to call it anything else other than that. It is. It is the job under the Convention of Human Rights of all first world countries who are able to take in refugees to do so. If you are blocking refugees who have been processed by the United Nations and been processed by US Customs and are on their way to the United States or any other country which is open to receive them, an executive order from the President of the United States is essentially a crime against humanity. It is a human right that that refugee be given refuge in the country which has accepted it by signing up to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. It's as simple as this. If you sign the contract, you have to fulfill it. If you claim the right to be a member of the United Nations, you also must claim the responsibilities that comes with that membership. And Donald J. Trump is certainly not living up to the rights and responsibilities of what he claims are a civilized nation in this day and age. Some of the basically countries that he's put bans on are ridiculously blatant that it has nothing to do with terrorism. Some of the countries that He has put bans on countries such as Syria. Just going over New York Times to say that President Trump omitted from his ban a number of other prominent Muslim nations where his company has done business. And that speaks for itself. He has many, many companies in various countries. The 7 countries whose citizens are subject to the ban are relatively poor. Some, such as Syria, torn by civil war. Others are now only emerging from one. But one thing these countries have in common is that there are places where the Trump organization does little to no business. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. And I find it unusual that Donald Trump would be so blatant in this. At least he could have a little bit of underhandedness or subterfuge to give a reason other than they're Muslim countries where terrorists come from. If you think about it, the countries that have bans on them are Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. Now, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen, no Americans have been killed by citizens of those countries between 1975 and 2015. Saudi Arabia citizens are responsible for the killing of 2,369 people, Americans. Yet there's no travel ban on Saudi Arabians. United Arab Emirates citizens are responsible for the death of 314 American citizens in the same time period, yet there is no ban on travel for their citizens. Egyptian citizens are responsible for the death of 162 American citizens in the period 1975 to 2015, and yet there is no travel ban on those citizens. And in Lebanon, 159 citizens were killed by them for the United States. God. And between 1975 and 2015, and yet no travel ban. So there we have it, folks. We have a travel ban which is designed to punish countries which isn't economically compatible with Trump's conglomerate. So it has absolutely nothing to do with terrorism and everything to do with profit. So it's not just that. They're also kicking themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot. U.S. healthcare is incredibly in jeopardy because of Trump's Muslim ban. And we're just going to have this little clip here that explains why. And it's a personal account of a gentleman from Syria who is currently in the U.S. and how the Muslim travel ban pertains to him.
Dr. Mohammed al-Sayed, born in Syria, just moved to California after 3 years working in Dothan, Alabama. It's an impoverished community in the southeast corner of the state where 72% of the county voted for Donald Trump. Dr. al-Sayed did it in exchange for what's called a J-1 visa waiver.
After I finished my residency, I was on a J-1 visa. And one of the requirements for the J-1 visa, if I have to stay in the United States, I have to work in an underserved area.
President Trump's executive order will directly affect roughly 1,200 workers in the tech industry, according to records of H-1B visas, and roughly 13,000 university and graduate students, according to education officials. But its greatest impact could be on health care, where thousands of physicians like Dr. al-Sayed come to the U.S. from predominantly Muslim countries each year.
Most of the time when I introduce myself in the hospital in Dothan, people, they ask where I'm from, and obviously I'm not, I don't look like them, and of course I tell them I'm from Syria, and actually majority, they don't know what Syria is. Majority, they never heard of it.
More than 27% of doctors practicing in the United States were born in other countries. Why is that? It's because the United States is running out of doctors. The projection is that by the year 2025, we're going to be down at least 95,000 doctors. And that is why the U.S. has this program, in order to give doctors to prisons and low-income neighborhoods and rural communities where American-born doctors cannot be found.
In Dothan, we had only 2 to 3 physicians out of 25 who are Americans.
So this is your staff that you were with?
Yes, I worked with these people in the hospital.
Where are they from?
India, from Syria, Libya, Kashmir, India, and Libya. It is possible if more executive orders come in against Muslims and against Syrians and other nationalities, then it's likely that we have to leave the country and try to find a new place